throw it in my face, but every time we get into like an argument, she's like, oh, I'm not throwing it in your face that I cook for you guys and that I clean for you guys. And I'm like, whatever, Mom.
When you were little, did she let you have junk food?
No. Oh, no.
Okay. It seems that she's spending electricity on food that potentially is enough for the three of you.
And it's
But
sad.
you may or may not like what she makes.
It's sad. I said I don't eat. I'm like, I love chips, so I live off of that again.
Okay, so
for my
is the
son.
eating the chips just your reality and you don't have to find a justification? Think about it. If Mom didn't let her have chips and junk food when she was little, and now she's back living with Mom, she needs a justification. The child, Paula, needs a justification to have the mistress of the chips, the alliance with the chips, and so the mother has to be the outcast. So maybe or maybe not, I'm not saying that it's not true. Remember, we're not telling clients, oh my God, that's a lie, your mother doesn't care if you spend electricity. No, we don't freaking know, her mother's a bitch, we don't know. What we want to bring that to their attention so that they can be authentic is, could it be that you fabricated that story so that you can justify eating chips in front of your mother who taught you junk food was bad and you're not allowed to have it?
And where does it come from that you said she brings up the fact that she cooks for you, but where does that fit into you thinking that she doesn't want you to waste electricity?
Because again, she like, when we get into something, I'm always like, oh, well, you don't let me cook, so what am I supposed to do? And she's like, well, I'm not like throwing it in your face, but the reason why is because I don't want you wasting electricity.
Oh, so now you just cleared it up for me. So she specifically said that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. But could it be that she's cooking for you and the baby, so why would you need to not eat her food? Did your mom make you eat her food when you were little?
Yeah, because.
Like forced?
It was like, you either eat
I was
or
forced.
you don't. Yeah, you
Me
either
too.
eat or you don't eat.
You
And
eat
like-
what
You don't-
you're
you don't
offered
go to bed.
or
Yeah,
you're
and
screwed.
like,
You have a
just
seat at the
like
table.
Zulily,
Stay there.
it was always
Stay there.
something healthy, so if we ever went to Burger King or McDonald's, it was like,
Right.
whoa.
But the judgment is, and remember, 0 to 100. They made you do it, you're gonna either do it the same or you're gonna rebel, and you, my friend, are a rebellion.
Yes,
So,
and I do it to myself.
if she made me eat this shit when I was little, well now I'm a mom, and now I'm gonna eat all the chips I want, and proud that she lives on chips. But then the response to mom is, well, you don't let me cook. That's just a mask.
Yeah.
James, food.
Love to eat out.
Love to eat out. Any judgment?
That's why I'm at home cooked food.
What, mother or father, who didn't cook or who was a bad cook?
Mother didn't cook, she was always working. I didn't want to be at home because of my grandfather, and I would always eat out as far as like in other people's houses and like friends' houses. And I think that's where it developed.
Okay, so you would eat at other people's houses, so it wasn't that you don't long for the family table with the home-cooked meal. Out for you could be at another person's house, not necessarily a corporate establishment.
Correct.
Okay, interesting. And now what do you do with food?
I mean.
With your
eat
kid?
out. I take them out to eat.
You take them out to eat. Do you know how to cook?
I do.
So why don't you ever cook for him?
I have cooked for him, but I guess the last few months I haven't. I guess because, I don't know, I really don't. I think maybe there is no family thing going there, and that's why I stopped doing it.
Okay, so eating is linked to family? Mother or father? What childhood memory do you have of family and food? First thing comes up.
When my family would eat together, my mom, sister, her now ex-husband,
So there's something there.
Our family, my family in particular, are like, we're not even big as it is, here in Miami. Like, it's 3 cousins, my aunt, and then their kids, and all that stuff. So it's not really a big family, but we're so apart. It's ridiculous. Like,
And for Pisces, if the sign means union, it's difficult to be apart, yes.
Could it also be like, I'm not,
Just state it as what you
Could
think
it-
it is. Own your thing.
yeah, could it be like also what he's going through right now? And
The situation
'cause
is
it's-
still going to take you all the way to conception.
Yeah, because
So
it's
It
not
doesn't
only-
matter, it's the thread.
Because even when
That's
you
why
just
we're
said-
talking the most random topics,
Yes.
and every one of you goes back to a mother-father thing.
I think also too that
It all makes.
like, when I saw it in other families, like I just wanted it more and more.
It also sounds like when you take your son out, because that's what you used to do.
Oh, no.
Right, he's almost
Take them
sharing
out.
your experience when
Right.
your family was
Exactly.
not together.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys can go back to your seats. So I'll find some way to tweak it so that we can, but it's a good activity.
It is, because I didn't realize that until, like, as with everybody's experience and the way you were always bringing it back, as soon as like the first person said food, I was like, what about food with me? And I'm like, I like to eat out a lot, like consistently. And then I started thinking it to myself, like, why is it that I like to eat out a lot? And then I started thinking back and going all
So
the way back.
I'm glad that it helped you personally,
It did.
but it made everybody aware of judgments. You were just listening. And I wanted to like blindfold you and whatever, but any lack of distraction lets you listen more.
Your senses, yeah.
When you hear a judgment, this is the take-home message, it's super, super important. There is a value attached, always. And you can ask the client blatantly, what is your value about having protected sex? Who taught you that? That's very easy to segue in with a client. Why are eating out meals more important than eating home? Tell me a story.
I also want to add that in this exercise, had your eyes closed, but when you're with the client, obviously, you have to take into account their movements.
Right, because I was seeing your movements.
Yes, that also tells a lot.
What were you saying, Tanisha?
Which I'm still working on. My smiling and laughter send mixed signals.
There's an issue there. If you are not congruent, remember the other day I talked about incongruence? I like thin crust. If someone is laughing when they should be crying, I'm talking about appropriateness. Some people get laughter when they're nervous. Okay.
Yeah, I smile, I
Okay.
smirk.
But we're talking about appropriateness. If you're seeing someone isn't appropriate in a response, it's like Natalie. Natalie crashed her new car, and what happened?
She was calm.
She was calm, she didn't care, and it was a new car. Minimization. There's a theme of minimization. Oh, it doesn't matter. Yeah, okay, her parents can buy her a new car, but that's not an appropriate response. You have to wonder when someone isn't having an appropriate response to something, there is something there. There is absolutely a judgment and a value there. It's not right to get mad in public. Social racists dictate, Emily Post dictates. With this whole Harvey Weinstein thing, they interviewed Uma Thurman. And they were interviewing a lot of stars. And Uma Thurman says, and you could tell in her voice, I don't know if you heard that clip on
No, I
NPR.
didn't even know she was one of the.
Google, it's worth watching, it's
Wow.
about a 5-second clip. Her voice is trembling, and she goes, I have learned that when I respond in anger, I later regret my response. And her voice was trembling. Did she say anything?
A ton.
Words,
Holy,
tons.
she said a
She
lot.
didn't say much, but you could read
The
into
silence
it
was shattered.
because Diane, she's like.
Hell yeah,
furious.
just the way that her throat was trembling and the choice of her words. I thought that was so poignant.
She must have worked on that speech for a really long
Yes.
time to get to those few words.
And I didn't have the visual because this was on the radio.
Yeah, but just to say that means that there's a lot to say.
Absolutely.
A lot.
And she,
So that's what you're listening for. And like Mr. Pachi said, the nonverbals. Are they twitchy? Are they smiling when really they should be sad? Do they take away eye contact? Could be shame or embarrassment.
And they clench as soon as you say the word. Because as soon as you say something, they react physically.
So anytime there's a judgment, I need you to memorize this, tattoo this. Judgments are linked to values, and values are linked to the buckets. There is a bucket there, good or bad, that has the answer. And if you just ask, the client themselves is going to put two and two together. Look how many of you said, oh, wow. And there's something very cathartic about saying it out loud. I think that what Trisha experienced was pretty big. For you to verbalize, food should make the person happy. You try to make them happy and you're not happy and you're not in your relationship. What the fuck? Mom, you lied. What the fuck now? Like, I don't have any option. Like, there's so much inferred in that commentary. That was huge.
and her stress level rose as she said the word.
So it's like, oh, I heard it. And that's those sort of awareness and those epiphanies that we have the clients as they say it. That's why we ask the right questions, so that they can give us the right answers, and then they hear themselves and they're like, oh, shit. Like James. So that's what this is. This isn't rocket science. But when you hear a judgment like you did today, ask about the value. It's there. These are together. These are like the two breasts, the two eyes. This is a joint. And then it has to link to a bucket, which has to link to a parent. I don't care so much about the parent. You're going to be able to see your triad if you know the parent, but it's not always the same parent. 99% of the time it is, but it is linked to a bucket. So it's in their bucket, meaning causing a problem means that that's part of their shadow. So she said, what, are you supposed to be mean to someone? Yeah. Call the motherfucker up, send him a cake, and throw it in his face. Because you're angry. But if you're supposed to be nice, how are you supposed to be angry? There's no permission. 0 to 100. Once you discover the value in the bucket, you immediately have a 0 to 100. Immediately. I have to be nice. 100. Oh, fuck that. Somewhere in the middle is the answer. You don't cook all the time. You're not nice all the time. But if you're going to do the shift, because normally we go 0, 100, 48 to 52. You know, we go to the two extremes before we find that middle. Then tap into the extreme. Tap into the opposite of nice. So that you can really get out your righteous anger, which you have a right to do.
It's funny that you brought up like that food scenario, because like I just said a little while ago, like my mom always did that and I was always very skinny, I was always thin, I was always in shape. And she would complain like not to gain weight or whatever, and always was like on top of me for that. But then when I gained the weight, it's always been, oh my God, you gotta lose weight, oh my God, you gotta lose weight, and like always like forcing like everything. Like even when she would come to the house, she would always like, if she sees my husband's desserts, that I won't even touch those. Like there's things that he likes that I just don't like, but they're sweet and she sees them there. Right away she's like, oh, you see, like they shouldn't be there. He shouldn't even be buying stuff like that, because then it'll give you temptation to have it. And I'm like, and during that time, I can tell you that, like I was telling you yesterday, I was so depressed. Even during my cancer, like I like, not only did I have like those worries and going through all that for those 6 years, my mom would always come and like talk crap about my weight because I was going up in weight with all the medication for chemo. And like I felt like I couldn't do anything, like I was not winning in any situation either. Even if I was to lose weight or I'm gaining weight, I'm still not winning, like there was no balance. So it was like, just like you said, a 0 to 100 right there. So after I, finally got cleared of the cancer and everything, is when I started realizing, like, I can't sit there and keep being like this and like being so depressed. I can tell you for a couple of years there, I didn't look at myself in the mirror, ever. Like, literally, I'm not even exaggerating. Like, the mirror was there, I'll brush my teeth, I wouldn't even look to even see if I had anything on my face. And it was because I just didn't like what I saw. I didn't like who I was. And it got to the point where I told myself after a while, like, I can't live like this. And I live like this. And I had my husband and my kids constantly telling me, but Mommy, why are you like saying that about yourself? Because I got to the point where I would believe everything that they would say about me. I would like literally believe, oh, okay, I'm fat, I'm ugly. There's like, why is anybody even looking at me? And it got to that point where I had to sit there and choose, like, if I continue to like live like this, I'm gonna get even worse, or even cause more health conditions.
Autoimmune disorder, when that constant beating of self up causes major autoimmune disorders.
Yeah, I was really
I had to do that
bad.
same thing.
Yeah.
I really had to say, wait a minute. Yes, body image is important. It's true that that's a value that my mother prescribed to and that I did too. But I had to stop hurting myself.
Right.
So what you said about your mom coming over and seeing your husband's desserts, which transaction were we dealing with there? The first one or the second one?
First.
The
'Cause it wasn't
first,
a real
yes.
conversation.
Because she was treating her like a child.
Oh yeah, no.
So when a client is telling you a story like that, because that's a common thing, oh, my mother came over, and my father, and this and that, or my sister, or my sister's 10 years older than me, and you hear all of a sudden that the transaction is not adult. It's, just to put it in another way, adult child.
Yeah.
And so you're in a child transaction when she speaks to you that way. What can you do, or what suggestion do you give a client to bring them from child to adult so that they can stand up to the mother?
Oh, I did. I had to.
What'd you
The only
say?
thing I had to do was just, I told her, I was like, if you're gonna have a problem every single time you come to my house, or every time you're around me, this happened like maybe almost like a year ago. I had to, because it was like on a constant basis. Every time I saw her, or every time she came to the house, she had a problem with everything. And like, my weight was always like an issue that came up. She always had to sit there and say, oh, you need to lose weight. You need to lose weight. Oh, I wish you would just lose weight already. Like, it was always, every day, every conversation was, she always had to bring it up. And in front of my kids, in front of my husband, and even they would feel bad that she was doing it. Because they would even later on, oh, I wish Nana wouldn't tell you that anymore. And my husband would always be like, why does your mom always have to bring that up? Like, why does she have to say that to you? And during that time, my husband even told me, I'm just worried because I don't want you to fall back onto how you were feeling before.
So
And
there's two things. So first of all, how you bring a client that's in child transactions, and it could be a child transaction with their own children, to adult is boundaries.
yeah, I have to tell her, you can't.
It has to be. Your client, you help them, must establish a boundary with that adult that's putting them in child role. There is no other answer. And when Marcia is talking and the mother is constantly, I wish you would lose weight already, you're so fat, you have to lose weight, you have to lose weight. It is her mother's value system that she must look good in order to obviously attract a man, because we know that your mother's whole value system is about that. Has your weight ever impacted your sex life or your marriage?
No.
Not because your husband, but because of you and your depression with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, during that time, yes. Yeah.
It has has to,
Like,
because the
literally.
origin story, of course,
There were times.
it has to.
I would always be like tired, or I would even tell him, and he used to always be like, "Why do you think like that?" And it was like I would literally.
It's in my origin story, Lemons.
Oh my God! Like, I would tell him more.
Conception fucked me up.
Yeah, I would tell him. I would be like, "Oh, you know, I can't. I don't feel like I'm good enough anymore. Like, I don't feel like I could sit there and do all these things that I could used to do because I'm out of breath and stuff like that." And he would be like, "Are you crazy? Like, you sit there and no matter what you do, you please me no matter what." And like literally like, and once I got over the hump, we got back to being like, we're like honeymooners every day anyways. But like,
I see the pictures. Why did I ask? Why did I ask if it affected her marriage and or her sex life? Why did I pick that question? Why didn't I ask her if it affected her mothering? Why didn't I ask her if it affected her schoolwork? Why did I go straight to sex and marriage?
Because of the triad and her alliance
because that's what it feels.
with her husband to.
No, this triad is with your parents, which indeed could be
Which is because the
dad is
connection
mother.
is with my mother.
I just.
And
Right,
my mother-
because what's the mother's value?
To look good.
If you don't look good, you don't get a man.
Yeah.
So it has to affect, and men for the mom is sex, and sex equals money, because she shared that with us. You're not gonna always know that right off the bat with clients, but the more you see them. So I knew to ask that it had to affect the sex life, and it had to affect the marriage. It had to, because that's what her mother taught her. And it's interesting that her spouse doesn't care. She's not her mother, but she's still carrying the Costco card. So that's a place where you can have a death and rebirth amongst chaos. Now, you already got cancer. I don't want you to get sick again, so you have to learn this lesson again. Don't be mean.
No, that's what I did. I had to tell her, hey, you can't, you know what, you're not gonna come to my house anymore and say anything. The moment you do, you could just walk in the door. And I've had to kick her out. I had to.
And that's a boundary, and you have the right.
And now she comes, she doesn't say nothing. She doesn't even mention anything about my weight
Perfect.
anymore, because she already knows.
Perfect, so you set the boundary. Now you have to hold yourself accountable. Step 5. The rule book, in Marsha's rule book is, mom crosses a boundary and talks about my weight, I kick her out. You don't kick her out, I don't care if it's Thanksgiving or Christmas. You just violated yourself, you broke your own rules, and you're back to being a child.
You mean if I don't do it?
If you don't
Oh,
do
no,
it.
I don't do it.
Because that's in her rule book.
I don't care, I do it.
That's in her rule book. So the other day, I had to decide about the chemo. I did decide to continue. And I asked my mom, I said, don't come to the doctor. I need to be alone. And, you know, of course, she insisted. And I said, please don't. I said, and don't call. My sister, too. I said, I will reach out to you guys. So my sister sends my brother-in-law. And I said, you know, you guys aren't very smart. Like, I figure out, I didn't call my sister back, so she sends my brother-in-law. And I told him, I said, you know that I know what you're doing, right? Like, at least if I get it off my chest. And I know it's all with good intention. This isn't anything that I'm angry about, but it's like, let me be alone and be in my space and figure my thing out. So my mom came over yesterday with my sister, and I told them that I was deciding to do it. And at one point, my mother's like, oh, you made the right choice. And I said, no. I said, there is no right choice. I said, absolutely not. I said, I made this choice. I weighed the benefits, the risks, the options, and I made this choice. There's no right or wrong choice. And we really need to understand that. There is no good or bad or right or wrong. That's all judgment. That's her judgment, because obviously she has a daughter that already died. She's referring back to that, and then I could die. As I'm sure I would if my kid said no to chemo too. I mean, she's not wrong. But when you start hearing people that are so righteous about something, that must be, that's always this way. That's the way it should be. That's all that we were listening for. You know there's a judgment, you know there's an erroneous value, and you know that there's a bucket. It takes you. It takes you. Every one of you did it today. You did it.